Welcome back to the Domino's Pizza NFL Live Halftime Report. A number of hard hits in recent weeks have resulted in concussions for several NFL quarterbacks and wide receivers, a development that is being closely watched by the league. The question is, have the hits been aggressive but legal, or are they the result of gratuitous violence?
Elway with the top. Elway off the ball.
John Elway managed to avoid injury on that late hit. Not as fortunate was Troy Aikman, who suffered a concussion in successive weeks.
Once I came out of the game, was just going through a period where just couldn't maintain any thought.
A week later, the Bengals' James Francis was fined $12,500 for a cheap shot on Aikman. It's not only quarterbacks going down, though. 4 more concussions last week, including Bears wide receiver Tom Waddle.
I've been hit as hard as that, in the past, so, it really won't affect me.
Also, Don Beebe of Buffalo hit head-on by the Jets' Bobby Houston, prompting charges of bounty hunting by Jim Kelly.
I'm not going to mention teams or names, but, yeah, I've definitely heard that teams have put money in a pot and say, okay, whoever knocks individuals out, that particular person gets money. I've heard that a couple times in the last couple weeks.
Despite that accusation, there are reminders in every NFL dressing room advising players to avoid tackling with the crown of the helmet to see what they hit.
We can create all the rules we want, but if the players don't have some ownership in the spirit and sportsmanship of our game, the rules are not going to work.
Mike, you and I have talked about this, and the feeling I get is that you think that everybody is overreacting just a little bit on this.
I think they are. I mean, a couple of the hits on the quarterbacks I agree with. I think you have to protect the quarterbacks, and I think they've put a lot of rules in to protect the quarterbacks. But there were some articles written about, legislating guys like Chuck Cecil out of the sport. In that case, if you legislate him out, you ought to get rid of guys like Ed Sprinkle, Doug Atkins, Dick Butkus, Ray Nitschke, Jack Lambert, Jack Tatum, Gary Fensick, Cliff Harris, and Ken Houston, because those guys played the game aggressively. I don't think that people are trying to hurt people out there, but I think you're taught to tackle a certain way, and you're taught to use your headgear some. I know it's hard to change. I know what the league is saying, and I agree with them, but these guys are not trying to hurt anybody. They're told to say, the receiver catches the ball, separate him from the ball. How do you do that? You make a hard hit.
All right, let's bring Joe Gibbs in. Joe, what are your thoughts on what's happening right now?
I think if somebody goes low on somebody, goes to the head, fine. But I think we've gone overboard, Greg, with the face mask and the helmet. We teach these guys to tackle like this, head up. And at the last second, what are you going to do? You're going to get a little dip in there because a guy is going to close his eyes and dip his head a little bit. I think we're going overboard with the face mask.
All right, Joe. One thing does seem clear. Despite some hefty fines, the late hits keep on coming. What can the NFL do about it?
I think that disciplinary action, number one, must be punitive, and number two, it must be a deterrent. And if it's not deterring the action, then you must increase your disciplinary action. So if fines aren't enough, then I think you go to the next step where you look at suspensions.
That's Gene Washington. What are the solutions in your thoughts, Joe?
Well, I think Gene's right on that. I think you got to keep escalating. These guys make a lot of money. If somebody does something like a late hit, going low, going to the head, then I think you need to fine him, and I think he's right. You need to step it up. It needs to be a healthy fine, or I think you go ahead and start suspending him.
Mike, do you want a player, though, that's out there thinking about a hit before he makes it?
No, it's got to be instinctive. Lombardi said that football is a collision sport. Don't take the collisions out of football.
All right, Mike, our NFL Live halftime activities will continue.